You've probably noticed it. The ones who are truly wealthy, not just in money, but in presence, in certainty, in power, rarely feel the need to explain themselves. They don't justify their success. They don't announce their moves. They simply are, and their reality bends quietly around them. This silence isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's the byproduct of someone who no longer needs permission to exist in abundance. Their wealth doesn't come from noise, it comes from frequency. And frequency doesn't beg to be understood. It just resonates. It moves through the unseen layers of life and calls in everything that matches its tone. Joseph Murphy often said, "You will not change the outer by working on the outer." The subconscious is the workshop of reality, and those who have mastered it no longer seek approval from the surface. They've gone deeper, into that silent place where wealth begins as a seed, planted without applause, watered with belief, and harvested in stillness. This is the true mystery. Real wealth isn't loud. It doesn't campaign. It doesn't convince. Because the moment you become abundance, you stop needing to talk about it. You don't teach the flower how to bloom. You nourish the root, and the rest unfolds. In the same way, those who are deeply aligned with prosperity don't talk about vibration. They are the vibration. Their presence speaks what their words never could. You feel them before they speak. You sense something solid, unshakable, quiet, like gravity. And it's not what they say that draws wealth in. It's what they carry, a frequency so stable it doesn't need validation, and so magnetic it doesn't need to ask. True wealth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask to be recognized, and it certainly doesn't seek validation. Those who are deeply aligned with abundance understand something most overlook, that energy is sacred, and where it flows, reality follows. They guard that energy, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because once you realize how powerful alignment is, you no longer waste it trying to explain. This is the paradox. The more potent your vibration becomes, the less you feel the need to share it. Not because you're hiding, but because you've learned that real power moves in silence. The wealthy, those who have mastered the invisible, don't broadcast their intentions. They embody them. And that embodiment creates results far louder than words ever could. Joseph Murphy's work makes this clear. The subconscious accepts what is deeply impressed, not what is spoken out loud to others. And so, the one who speaks less often creates more. Their alignment is internal, quiet, focused. They are not concerned with being understood because their results speak the language the world listens to. Outcome. Energetic privacy means moving in such deep coherence with your intention that the external world has no choice but to shift, without you having to push, explain, or justify. It is the art of becoming invisible to resistance. You stop attracting opinions, interference, or friction because your signal is no longer diluted by the need for approval. In this state, wealth is not something you defend, it's something you reside in. And when your energy is held with that kind of quiet authority, you no longer chase anything. The field responds not to noise, but to purity. And that purity is only possible when your energy is yours alone, held, focused, and undivided. Before wealth ever shows itself in your world, it begins in a place no one else can enter. Not in your bank account, not in your business plan, but in the deep, silent soil of your subconscious mind. This is where real riches are planted, in secrecy, in solitude, in stillness. And those who understand this don't perform their process for others. They protect it. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious doesn't respond to effort or even to desire. It responds to belief, the kind that is repeated, vivid, and emotionally charged. That belief becomes a seed. And like any seed, it requires darkness to grow. It requires silence, space, and sovereignty, a space free from doubt, opinions, or premature exposure. This is why those who become truly wealthy don't explain how they're manifesting. They don't speak their vision to be heard. They imprint it into themselves so deeply that it becomes identity. The wealth begins internally, not as a concept, but as a state. And once that internal wealth is stable, external wealth has no choice but to follow. Subconscious sovereignty means you've taken back authorship over your inner script. You are no longer reacting to the world, waiting for proof. You are writing the narrative from within and letting the outer world catch up in its own time. You don't need to prove what you're becoming. You simply need to become it in secret. This inner sanctuary is where true transformation begins, not in the visible, not in the explainable, but in the unseen dedication to who you are before anyone notices. And by the time the results appear, the process is already complete. What others call success, you already became long before they could see it. The moment you stop resisting, the current begins to carry you. This is not passive surrender, it is energetic precision. Resistance is not just tension in your body. It's the invisible signal that says, I don't fully trust this yet. And the field, always precise, mirrors that hesitation back to you. Joseph Murphy understood that the subconscious mind works best in stillness, when the conscious mind steps aside and allows the deeper pattern to unfold. And yet, most people attempt to manifest while gripping tightly to the outcome, obsessively checking for signs, trying to control timing. What they don't realize is that this control is the very thing blocking the flow. True wealth begins to move the moment you stop needing it to appear a certain way. When your energy no longer clings, forces, or negotiates, a new signal is released, one of inner peace, inner wholeness. That frequency tells the universe, I already have it. I trust the process. I am the cause. And from that place, wealth doesn't have to be chased. It returns home on its own. Letting go isn't about giving up the vision. It's about releasing the interference. It's choosing to hold the vibration without demanding the result, to feel the reality internally without needing external confirmation. This is where the most powerful shifts occur, when your inner world stays still, even as the outer begins to rearrange. Non-resistance is not weakness. It's mastery. It means you've stepped into such deep alignment that your frequency does the work for you. No convincing, no pushing, just quiet certainty. And in that space, prosperity flows through paths the logical mind could never predict, because now it's no longer being blocked by your need to control it. The most powerful forces in nature move without sound. Gravity doesn't shout. Magnetism doesn't speak. And true wealth, the kind that arrives with ease and stays, responds to the same law. It's drawn to stillness, not the stillness of inaction, but the stillness of inner alignment, a field so coherent that it needs no explanation, only presence. When your inner world becomes quiet, your vibration becomes focused. You're no longer leaking energy through overthinking, through proving, through explaining. You're not reaching out, you're drawing in. This is the hidden state of the truly prosperous. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's concentration. Their quiet isn't passive, it's magnetic. Joseph Murphy often referred to the deep currents of the mind, the places where true creation happens, beneath the noise, beneath the surface. And those who access this place understand something essential. The external world is always the last to know. The field shifts first. The body senses it. The soul relaxes. And then wealth appears, not as a surprise, but as a natural consequence. When you reach this state of stillness, the kind born from knowing, not hoping, you no longer seek momentum. You are the momentum. You become a center of gravity for the experiences, opportunities, and resources that match your inner state. There's no chase, no struggle, no need to convince. The world begins organizing itself around your calm. This is the power of magnetic stillness. It doesn't beg, it doesn't rush, it doesn't explain. It simply exists in full vibrational coherence. And in that existence, it calls in everything that belongs to it, not because it asked, but because it aligned. Reality doesn't speak words. It doesn't understand logic, justification, or even effort. It responds to one thing only: frequency. And this is why the ones who truly manifest, who live in abundance, certainty, and flow, have no need to explain themselves. Their energy does the speaking. Their life is the language. You could spend hours describing your plans, defending your dreams, trying to convince others or yourself that you're on the right path. But if your frequency is scattered, doubtful, or weak, none of those words matter. The field doesn't listen to explanations. It listens to signals. And the signal you send out is not crafted by thought alone, but by the total vibration of your being. Joseph Murphy emphasized that it is not what you wish for that manifests. It is what you accept as real in the subconscious. And that acceptance is not verbal. It is vibrational. It is the quiet, unshakable tone beneath your thoughts. The steady hum of belief that doesn't need confirmation. That frequency, steady, embodied, certain, is what reality responds to. Those who understand this move differently. They don't argue with the world. They don't try to be understood. They become so internally aligned that their outer world begins to reshape in response. People feel something around them that can't be named. Opportunities arrive without explanation, and what once required force now comes through flow. In this realm, frequency replaces effort, presence replaces persuasion, and results speak louder than any strategy. This is the language of creation, silent, precise, undeniable. You don't need to announce your future when your vibration is already living it. There comes a point where you no longer need to speak about what you're creating because you are living it. Your energy no longer reaches for permission. Your words no longer seek agreement. You've become the embodiment of the frequency you once chased, and now it moves through you without effort. This is the essence of wealth without explanation. When your life begins to reflect your inner alignment so clearly, there is nothing left to prove. Your presence becomes a quiet transmission. People don't ask what you did, they feel what you are. And that feeling carries more power than any strategy ever could. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious accepts what is impressed upon it with emotion and repetition. But what he also implied was this: once that impression becomes identity, the manifestation is inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. At this stage, manifestation is no longer an event. It's a natural consequence of your being. You don't talk about vibration, you radiate it. You don't tell your story, you embody the ending. And in this silence, you carry the most potent message of all. Alignment doesn't need an audience. Reality already heard you. So the wealthy, the truly aligned, the deeply magnetic, they don't explain. Not because they're hiding something, but because they've become something. something that cannot be reduced to words, formulas, or steps. They are proof that the field listens, that the subconscious creates, and that the quiet frequency of embodied truth moves the world.